So now to clear out some of the debris that we have to clear out to talk accurately about what's going on with men, I want to show just how big this disconnect is between men and women, but especially calling out what I talked about in my monologue, which is the conservative side of men and women. And I thought there was a really good example of this earlier in the week. I talked a little bit about this a couple weeks ago with the Megyn Kelly segment that I did. But there is something that conservative women, quote unquote conservative women, do not get about conservative men. And I think it's showing now. And I think there is actually a very important dynamic and discussion to have around this. So Laura Ingraham and Tomi Lahren stepped in it the other day on Fox News. And rightly so. They got pilloried for this on social media and everywhere they were talking about it. So Laura Ingraham was hosting her nightly show. I wasn't watching it at the time. I saw it on social media. And so Tomi Lahren, who I've always kind of found just like, bizarre and weird and annoying, and I've never found her really. I was very happy when Glenn Beck fired her from the Blaze, for example. So she is now a contributor on Fox News. I think she is a host on that girl power show that they do in the middle of the day with Harris Faulkner, who I like, and a couple of other women on there. But she's one of the regular contributors there. Tomi Lahren goes on Laura Ingraham's show, and they're talking about dating, and they're talking about the current landscape of everything else. So Laura Ingraham is an older woman. I believe she's in her early 60s, late 50s. Tomi Lahren, I believe, is 32. I think I looked her up before I talked about this to do some research. And so essentially what they did is they took a major shot at young men in this segment. So what Tomi Lahren said, that young women, this is her claim, young conservative women want to get married and to have kids. And so, okay, so she says that, but then she uses it to sideswipe conservative young men. And she says the typical thing. So young men are lazy, they're deadbeats, etc. to meet them there. They're living in mom's basement. They're just watching porn and eating Doritos and picking things out of their belly button, etc. And they go on about this and they laugh and they say like, oh yeah, men just need to pick themselves up by their bootstraps. And there's a lot to get into here. This was really aggravating for me personally. And to start, I don't want to start with my opinion. I want to start with the facts because they clearly ignored those facts. And the biggest fact that I want to harp on is that this is factually inaccurate. It's inaccurate. It's not true, what Tomi Lahren said and what Laura Ingraham agreed with. Because young men today are the most conservative demographic in the history of the world. They are the ones that are leaning more towards conservative values. Marriage, families, stability, all those sorts of things. Now, does this mean all men are doing that? And there are men that are still jerking off, watching porn 10 times a day, etc., eating Doritos out of their belly button? Yes. But in all, young men are rapidly drifting, and not even drifting, swerving into conservative values. They're swerving it. The data is clear on this. Young men were the biggest driver in the factor towards the election last November, which, by the way, Laura Ingraham and Tomi Lahren need to learn about that and be actually grateful for that when they go and they go on Fox News and just take a shit on young men when they're on there. But anyway, that's beside the point. We'll get to that later. And so they are the most grounded generation in traditional values, while young women, who they say are quote-unquote wanting families, and it's men that need to get their act together and start to, go up to young women and put themselves out there and stuff, are the ones that are doing the 4B stuff and shaving their heads and all this stuff, and then they're not adhering to conservative values. They're just not. The data proves this. The polling data, or not the polling data, the exit polling data, the voting data pulls this. So young women are not like young men. They are swerving in the opposite direction. They are the most left-leaning generation in history, like young men are the most right-leaning generation in history. So they're going away from traditional institutions. They are going towards the workforce. They are going towards leftism. They are going towards feminism. They are going towards all of the is and isms that hinder things, like careerism. They are going towards all the is and isms that are doing essentially the opposite of what conservatives claim to want to do. People like Tomi Lahren and Laura Ingraham, who I don't think are very conservative in this regard at all. They sound like leftists when they talk like this. And so then I see this clip with Tomi Lahren and Laura Ingraham, but then I also see this clip by the great Arthur Brooks, who went on to CBS Morning or the CBS Morning Show, and there was a younger, probably in her 30s woman, talking about this, etc. And so they're getting on and they're talking about the dating crisis and everything. And Arthur has done a lot of work on the dating crisis and everything like that. And so again, this anchor, this 30-some anchor, I don't know much about this woman at all, but she again calls out young men on this CBS morning show. And she says basically, well, young men, they're the problem. They don't want to get involved and start families. Like, young men got to get their stuff together, and like, young women want this. Young women don't want this, actually. They don't. I've seen no, and by the way, this is not all young women, but young women generally, they don't want this. The data proves that. The statistics prove that. And so essentially, and she actually said this, a CBS anchor, actually, she did the brave part and said the quiet part out loud. She basically said, like, young men don't want to move out the basement. They don't want to commit. And I'm really tired of this narrative. I'm really, like, honestly upset about it, because it is upsetting and it's wrong and it's sexist. And again, whoa, big comment. Yeah, these women, Tommy Lahren, Laura Ingraham, the CBS anchor, I have no idea who she was. She should be grateful for that I don't remember what her name was. This is a sexist commentary on men and on masculinity, and we need to be calling it out as such. Oh, they don't want to move out of the basement. Oh, they don't want to get a job. Oh, they want to do this. A lot of men do, especially now, especially this generation of young men. So these women are sexist, and we need to call them out as such, and we need to correct that behavior. This is where men need to draw a line in the sand and say, no, that's wrong. That is statistically inaccurate. It's statistically inaccurate. Now, do young men have problems on the conservative side, not the conservative side? Yes. But do women need to meet them halfway there? More than halfway in some cases, a long way in some cases? Yes. A relationship is a two-way street. A marriage is a two-way street. And what really, again, I don't really think, Tommy Lahren and Laura Ingraham are really conservatives on this issue. They sound like leftists, and we'll get to that in a second. There's proof of that. So what, quote-unquote, conservative women do not get about this issue, what they still don't get about this issue, and this is why they're, the young women especially, they're the most depressed, mentally ill generation on record, as well as being the most liberal women on record. That's not a shock or an accident, in my opinion. It's not. Actually, the statistics bear this out. But what they don't get is that this is the ugly truth that we need to kind of just rip the Band-Aid off of. Their values are what is unattractive to the rising generation of men. It's their value. It is a values question. If they cannot find compatibility, do not look for it in the fringes of young men. Do not say that, oh, that guy can't get a job. He's living off of his mom's health insurance, and he doesn't work, and he doesn't take care of himself, and he's not working out, and all that sort of thing. Look at the generalities of young women, which are all born out of the statistics that we see and we just talked about in the public domain. This is where young women have to look themselves in the mirror, and quote-unquote conservative women especially need to look themselves in the mirror. If they cannot find compatibility, it is either all of the men's problem or it is your problem. It's probably a you problem. The same goes for men, but we're talking about young women here. If young women, and I've heard a lot of this too, I can't find a man. I can't find a man who wants to go out with me. Is it all the men's fault? Or could it be your fault? I don't hear that question being asked of our young women. If young women want to be treated like men, if they really want to be equal, then let's have the conversation. If young women cannot find compatibility, do not look at the guy jerking off 10 times in his basement and picking Doritos out of his belly button and say that is the reason I can't find a man. No, you're the reason you can't find a man. You are the reason. You are the problem. It's you. It's not all men. It's not all women, by the way, for all the men who are jumping and flipping up and down for this. You're the same way. You're the problem. But for young women specifically, the reason why they can't find compatibility is because their values that have been partially installed by the culture. I think the culture has poisoned the well of young women so badly that women have been drinking this poison water constantly and now are drinking the Kool-Aid fully and can't find their ways to snap out of it yet, which is a sin on behalf of our culture. But also, if young men can break out of it, young women can break out of it as well, and they haven't. And Jordan Peterson was talking about this on a podcast with Megyn Kelly that I just listened to actually before recording this. And I think he said something that's really true, and we'll talk about Jordan in a second. But Jordan said that he believes that young women are right now where young men were 10 years ago. And I think that's exactly the problem. Young men do not have a guiding way. They do not have a light to show them the way. They do not have a post. They do not have women to follow, to look up to, that are in this capacity, that provide the values for them. Young men have found that. They have found that with people like Donald Trump, with people like Joe Rogan, with people like Theo Vaughn, with people like Dana White, with people like, all the other, Logan Paul, all the other, Andrew Tate, for lack of a better role model. And so they have now this emerging panacea of role models across culture, guys in entertainment, guys in politics, guys in media, Patrick Bet-David, guys in media, guys everywhere that are strong, capable men, that men can say, I want to be like Charlie Kirk. I want to be like Jordan Peterson. I want to be like Andrew Tate. They have these guiding posts now. Women have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. And this is a reason, a big reason, why modern women are not finding success in dating. There is a reason for this. And the reason, if we can swallow this ugly truth, is that men do not want what they are selling. They are not finding success in dating because they are, on a values level, unattractive to the general sense of men. If the general value system of women is moving left and the general sense of men is moving right, there's no compatibility by definition. This is pretty easy to understand, I think, but apparently it's not to the idiots on Fox News. It's very much out there. It's very much out there. Young women are not finding success in dating because young men do not want what they are selling. And I think we've gotten, thank God, by the way, we've gotten past the point in which young men for the longest time would sacrifice their values, myself included, by the way. I was at the front line of this. They would sacrifice their value system by cuddle fishing to women, meaning they would say, oh, I'll put my pronouns in my bio to get laid. Oh, I'll say that I'm for like climate change advocacy because I want to get laid. Oh, I'm for Me Too because I want to get laid. Young men are not doing that anymore. They're not. And the men who are doing that are getting called out for it, like Harry Sisson and all these people like that. They're getting called out for it. And thank God, by the way. Thank God. So what this means, essentially, is that this is actually a very ironic point by both Tomi Lahren and Laura Ingraham, as it was by Megyn Kelly, who I like, by the way. I like Megyn far more than I like the other two. But essentially, the funny part of all of this, Tomi Lahren and Laura Ingraham are talking about kids, right? They're talking about family. Laura Ingraham is not married. Laura Ingraham has 3 adopted children. I have nothing against adoption. But Laura Ingraham is a single mother of adopted kids. Tomi Lahren got married in terms of who has overwhelmingly high status. Look up her husband if you don't believe me, which is no help to the average man who they're talking about. Ingram's not married. Tomi Lahren just got married. She's 32. She does not have children at all. She doesn't even have the nerve to adopt them and then wants to dump on young men for not wanting to have kids, even though she doesn't have kids herself. I can't explain that one, but I can. But anyway, this is no help to average men. This is no help to the average men who they're talking about. They are completely out of touch with reality. They're completely out of touch with reality, just as Megyn Kelly was. When Megyn Kelly was saying that women can have it all, that's a lie. Women cannot have it all. You know why? Because most women are not Megyn Kelly. They are not as talented of a broadcaster as she was. They are not blessed with the looks that she is. Most definitely. Megyn Kelly, by the way, is one of the most beautiful women, I think, in her 50s on the face of the planet. A lot of women don't have that going for them. They just don't. That's not even like I'm trying to, attractive shame, if that's a thing, women, but they're just not. So what we need, how we actually solve this, instead of the pathetic sort of, pandering that goes on Fox News and all these like catty shows that just dump on men all the time. We need more accountability and relatability, more importantly, from both men and for women, but from women especially. If they're going to play this card, if they're going to play the I can't find a man, so it's the man's fault problem, we have to be able to treat women with honesty and with equality in this conversation. We need to hold women to a higher standard than we have held them in the past and say, well, what are you doing to attract a man? Men do not owe you anything, honey. Just like women don't owe men anything. We don't owe people anything. The sexes don't owe anybody anything. If you're going to throw the men are subpar card out, well, what are you doing to raise your game up? Are you working out like you're wanting a man to work out? Are you putting yourself in position to be a wife just like he wants to be a husband? Are you willing to make sacrifices in your career if you want children? A lot of these women aren't. Laura Ingraham and Tomi Lahren sure aren't. Megyn Kelly wasn't. So again, there is a misalignment here of what these, and hypocrisy, more importantly, of what women in the culture are telling other young women. There are some women that are coming. Louise Perry is like this. Jordan Peterson's wife is like this. Tammy Peterson is like this. But we need to incentivize, as men, especially this is where men can help on this issue. Men need to incentivize this behavior from women. We need to reward this. There needs to be more marriages to the value systems that what men are desiring. And is it hard? Yes. But get over it. Because if you don't get over it, what are you going to do? Relationships are a two-way street, and this is no different. So women need a reality check here. They do, especially coming on high and slamming the poor young guy who can't find a job or whatever and saying that like he's like, beneath you because you're like some kind of a, neo-feminist, conservative, quote-unquote Fox News host. Like, I'm sorry, man, like that shit ain't going to fly anymore. It's just not.